The most dangerous choice a survivor of narcissism can make is lying with the narcissist and not thinking that they will become a second. Stay tuned as we discuss covert narcissism and reality TV. All right, welcome back to another episode of Clear Hair. This one, I would say this episode, we're going to be talking about psychology, but I don't know if I want to do like a separate, playlist for it, because whenever it pops up, I was like, I have to talk about it. There's so much psychology here. My credentials, as I said earlier before, like I said, this is from someone who has a degree in psychology, but I am not a licensed psychologist. So we're going to go into what the definition of a covert narcissist says. Okay, so let's talk about narcissism in general. Narcissism is pretty much an inflated ego of oneself, someone who basically does not see the importance of others' needs. This is formed in childhood when the child is trying to form during the developmental years between the ages of 5 and 8. When they're reaching out towards their parental connection and they're not finding any emotional availability there, the child in turn goes within themselves and they find comfort in themselves, and themselves becomes a deity in a way. Basically, they become their own god. So that's pretty much how narcissism is created. And covert narcissism is based on, and we'll talk about in a little bit, but covert narcissism versus overt narcissism is basically based off on what was allowed. So from what I've seen, when someone has a covert narcissistic traits, I noticed that this is formed when kids are not allowed. This is formed when kids are micromanaged by their parents, but their parents don't care. I call it helicopter disengaged. And then overt narcissism is when somebody is pretty much given an inflated ego. Like they're still not getting that emotional connection from their parent, but they aren't being told that they aren't getting that emotional connection from their parent, but they also still have an inflated sense of ego that is confirmed by positive and mostly negative reinforcement. So sometimes a parent will create an overt narcissistic kid because they live through their child without actually forming a real bond with them. They're like an object to them. So signs are detection. So this is someone just if you can see, this is like from just in general, from my experience and just what I've seen scientifically as well, is that the signs of detection are so succinct and so obvious, because people are always like, I don't know. So let's talk into it. This person has a tendency to pick on people. They have a lot of proposed self-doubt, but also an inflated ego, but also an ego that can be taken down very easily. I have on here too, ironically, their low self-esteem is their weapon. So they're going to be people who need consistent reassurance. Signs for the victim is nervousness around people. You're ever around somebody and you feel like you have to walk on eggshells? It's because you know this person is a covert narcissist and you can't really explain to people what's taking place because you know there's no viable proof. You feel like there's no space for you. You know, there is a trend, that people have going through social media. They're just like, I'm holding space for you. I'm not going to hold space for you. No, literally with the covert narcissist, there's no room for you. Like narcissism is basically like, I'm a deity of my own. Like I am a god of my own and you are going to treat this god correctly. If not, you will be punished. So in that same aspect, there's no room for you in the relationship. Like you can tell if you're in a relationship or in contact with a covert narcissist, there's no room for you. So let's say you're having a bad day. No, this covert narcissist does not care. Let's say you're going through something, they do not care. Everything goes back to self, and self is themselves. Okay. I know that sounds crazy, but Like I said, there's very different ones. You guys leave some comments below of like your interaction, or maybe this is like a epiphany for you, finding out that you actually are a victim of a covert narcissist. Trust me, you'll know the feeling. So we're going to go into, if you guys watch Ultimatum, so we're going to be talking about Scotty today. Scotty is a covert narcissist. Okay, so if you watch the show, you'll see that at the beginning of the show, right? Like, honestly, him bringing her on the show was just narcissism in general. That he knew that she was going to say yes, you know. And like, that's another thing too. Side note, covert narcissists have a tendency to have a high rejection fear. So for example, like when he got with in front of Arya, Scotty was holding hands with Zaina, knowing that Arya's in front of him. So Arya does not have Arya's love language is not physical touch. So he purposely was like, see, look, I can get it from somebody else. And he made sure it was in front of her, because a lot of people say, oh, it was just coincidental, because basically after they switched partners, the premise of the show for the Ultimatum is that they bring their partner on the show, and then they're just like, okay, you're going to go with someone for 3 weeks, I'm going to go with someone for 3 weeks, and then we're going to come back to each other and show that we actually are supposed to be with each other. So he partners up with somebody, Zaina, who's very beautiful, breathtakingly stunning, and basically he partners up with her, and from the first or second day, like, he starts holding hands with her, and of course, you know, Arya has an adverse reaction to this, and he does this on purpose. And the reason why I know it's done on purpose, because number one, he made sure that Arya was looking up, because if you look very closely at the footage, I can't play all of it because of copyright, but in the footage it'll show that Scotty purposely waited till she had a gap in conversation, because she was talking to Caleb. And then he walked by and made sure she held her hand. And then afterwards, after she came over, which he wanted, like I said, with narcissists, like, they are fueled by attention, and there's no such thing as bad press. So as soon as he got that anger from her, she came over and talked to him, gave him exactly what he wanted, which is attention. That's what narcissists are going after, right? So basically after that, like, going on further now, you know, going on further, now he has Zaina, the one that he's with currently, you know, like in that aspect, for the 3 weeks of the try-on haul, for the 3 weeks of that, basically, like, he's with Zaina, and like he starts showing his face. So basically with covert narcissists, they have a tendency to prey on your weaknesses. They love bomb you so they can get you. They love bombing you to basically open up the battlefield, and then they go and drill through to get to your insecurities. So once Zaina and Scotty start having a disagreement, Scotty says something very, I don't know if I was the only one who caught it, but he says something very disturbing and profound. So he hears a rumor, okay, from her boyfriend, all right? He hears a rumor from her boyfriend saying that, I feel like you said something bad about me. So Scotty comes in, brings that energy home, and he's like, hey, like, you did A, B, and C, this and other. And then he proceeds to say, oh, well, and then she starts presenting him with facts. Basically, narcissists work in fantasy. Okay, they work in fantasy. So he starts presenting her with facts and saying, hey, that's not true. And he's like, oh, well, you're too old for that. So he's going to go on the insecurity that he thinks that all older women have, is that our age, you know, our age is fertility. You know, with women, our beauty is our currency. It is. Our beauty is our currency, and our age is our savings account. Okay. So basically, he starts picking at that. And there was another case. So he's going to use his form of weapon is to use ageism, right? So going forward, when he asks her, hey, let's do something fun or whatever, and she's like, hey, I actually want to just deep clean the house today. I really don't want to go anywhere. And he's like, oh, well, what's your, like, because she keeps rejecting him, saying, oh, I don't like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. And then he proceeds, like I said, like the covert narcissist he is, he's like, okay, I got to find a way to get her back, because she's rejecting me. She's rejecting Scotty, the god. Why? And so basically he goes through and he's like, hey, what does 32-year-old fun look like for you? Basically hinting at the fact that she's too old to really truly know what fun is. Now, mind you, a lot of people have a tendency to ignore the fact that narcissists themselves have qualities, and the quality that they have in themselves, they don't like seeing in other people. Okay. So even though Scotty's only 2 years younger than her, to him, he's like, okay, well, I know there's a more ageism is more towards women in their 30s than me. Let me use that to my advantage, okay? So it just really showed with these two women that the commonality is the fact that narcissists pretty much have a clock until they start showing their real face, which is why they keep meeting new people. So we're going to go into Haire. So like I said, my quote from earlier, most dangerous choice you can make as a survivor of narcissism is to hang out with a narcissist thinking that you won't become the second one. So I feel like with Haire during the reunion, I do feel like I hate to see it. Like, I'm trying to think how to describe, like, I know I'm supposed to, present this as a scientist, but like emotion wise, like, I hate to see it because she doesn't realize that she's becoming what she doesn't like. She's becoming what she hates, So at the reunion, she steps to Caleb and she's like, so Caleb is someone who she made a connection with while she was not with Scotty. So she makes a connection with Caleb. And like I said, it's very easy once you're in the beginning stages of being a narcissist that it's easy to conflate emotions. It's easy to distort reality. Okay, so basically Caleb was very, very much a gentleman, very friendly, very much letting her have space, in the relationship. She's not used to that. And so basically what ends up happening is that she starts developing emotions for him and she's very adamant about those emotions, but Caleb, out of respect for his girlfriend, now fiance, is not having it. And so she conflates the story about, oh, well, you viewed my Instagram video. Like I said earlier in my previous review, I truly feel as though like he was just, maybe he thought of a meme one day, or maybe he was irritated with Mariah one day and was like, I wonder what Aria's up to. And they viewed her video and I was like, oh crap, how do I get out of it? So let me view her friend. He viewed Zaina's as well. So I really feel like, she conflated that story because, like I said, from what I know about men do not like starting over. There's a reason why 50, if not 60% of divorces that happen are initiated by women, because men do not like starting over. Women will start over. We'll fight about it, but we'll start over, but we can do it. We'll have grievances about it, but we can do it. Men do not like starting over. That's why there's been plenty of stories where women will be, a side piece to a man and be like, I've been with him for 3 years. I don't know why he won't leave her. I was just like, men aren't going to start over. Even if they're miserable, they're not going to start over. Okay? It's the reason why they want continuous access to women, because they don't want to start over. There's a reason why men have a higher tendency to go back to an ex than women do. Okay? Because meeting a new woman, convincing her to go on a date, like all that, the whole, like, men don't like hunting twice. Does that make any sense? So she definitely conflated that relationship, and this is how I say she's a narcissist, that she's slowly becoming a narcissist now. Haire is slowly becoming a narcissist now, a covert narcissist as well, because sometimes a covert can make an overt narcissist. Sometimes an overt can make a covert narcissist, but this is one of the rare cases that a covert is making a covert. I know it's I know this sound like I said 3 different things, but I know what I'm trying to say. She's becoming a covert narcissist because as she was watching so they showed a montage of Mariah and Caleb, who was his fiance. It showed a montage of them together, and basically you can see her like reaction. Cameraman, thank you. You're doing amazing, sweetie. You can see the cameraman basically coming in and just showing like her expressions, and then afterwards, Haire comes out of nowhere and says, "Oh, your relationship's so fake. You guys aren't happy." Da da da. And she's basically covert, like she's slowly planting that seed. So let's say the next time that Mariah and Caleb have a tiff, now it's going to be back in his head like, are we really happy? Haire is looking from the outside and she's saying that we're not. So that's also like another addition there as well too. So I don't know. I feel like Haire is slowly and then on top of that, like she had like 2 tragic events. I mentioned in a previous episode, 2 tragic life-changing events happen. I feel like in order for her to not continue on this path, but she's already there, because I saw towards the end, if you guys see the very tippity tip end after JR throws a pillow into the air, if you see the very tipped end, you'll see that it shows Mariah and Haire are talking and they're holding hands. And I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, she's trying to apologize. She's not. She's maintaining contact, because if Arya wasn't a narcissist, she would have never brought it up. She would have been like, oh, she would have saw that he liked the picture and then moved on. Because a man who can't scream from the rooftops that he cares about you is not a man you want to be with anyways. But like I said, people with psychological disorders have a tendency to hold on to relationships longer than the average person would. So definitely for sure, she's headed towards that path. So my solution to me is to do the shadow work. Like, I feel like Scotty saying that he went to therapy, we didn't say stop. Okay, we didn't say stop. But I feel like with Arya, since she's a newer narcissist, those are the most dangerous ones. Like, I'm not saying that, you know, you need to become a narcissist later in life so it'll be easier. But honestly, I prefer a narcissist from childhood than a narcissist from adulthood, because you can at least, but narcissists have cycles, okay? They have love bomb, no attention from love bomb, crash out, ignore. Love bomb, no attention from love bomb, crash out, ignore. They have a path. Think about it, okay? They have a path. They have a schedule that they have to keep. So you can at least know what's going on. Newer narcissists, yeah, they have to build a framework around it. They're way more dangerous. So especially a narcissist that was not created by themselves. I feel like narcissists who are created on their own, like you said, like I said before, with, you know, being created from having no emotional connection to their parent, or having their parent not give them that confirmation. Those narcissists we can work out with, but like the adult narcissists, they're worse, because they already have a cognitive map in their head of how they want to solve issues, and it's very hard to undo it compared to a child. Okay, so I feel like with Arya, I feel like she needs to do the shadow work. I feel like her previous issues, she did mention that, you know, she never got that emotional confirmation from her father, so I think she needs to definitely address that. She needs to let Arya and Caleb go away. Like, I think I wrote down literally, oh no, not my thing of lifting up. I think I literally wrote down, leave them alone. Okay. If you really can sit there and say you love Caleb, and you truly love Caleb, and you truly want them to have a good relationship, like you said, because you said, oh, you know, I'm happy to see your relationship. I was like, but you're not, because if you're truly happy to see the relationship, you wouldn't have impeded on it. You would have said nothing. You would have said, oh, well, you know, you did like my photo. You can get that little ego kick in your head and go away. But she had to bring it up. I was like, to me, like I said, like, a man who truly cares about you is not going to be ashamed of you, because this is what's going to happen. If he can't even admit that he cares about you, you're going to have to lead for the rest of that relationship, because he's already showing that he's not a leader. Like, men should always profess their love. Okay. Now I have on here too. So with Scotty, he needs to face this spirit of rejection that he has in himself, because I feel like the way some of the looks he did, like terrifying, like truly terrifying. He is almost like a cancer, no offense, but he does. Like, he literally attacks the most vital part of you and does not stop there until the host is gone, you know. And I'm glad that Arya is not with him anymore, but I'm glad Arya's not with him anymore, but I do feel as though like there's always going to be a piece of him that's still tormenting her, and that took time. That took gusto, that took energy. I feel like Scotty is worse off camera. This was just with think about it, everybody. This is just with the camera. This is just him in front of the camera. Imagine what he did before. They've been dating for 2-3 years. It is scary to know that this is how he solves issues, you know. And one of the reasons why they broke up is because, like, how they solve issues, how their conflict resolution is almost there. I was like, there is no conflict resolution with a narcissist. There is none. Like, I'm not trying to say like they like, don't save them. They don't want to be saved. Not to quote J. Cole, but there's nothing outside of a psychological cognitive behavioral therapy. There's nothing the average person can do, and you shouldn't be put in that position. Like, Scotty needs therapy, and he needs a official diagnosis as a narcissist, specifically covert. Okay. Arya needs to process what took place, because sometimes, especially as millennials, because we've never rested, you know, It's why a lot of us tend to stay up at night when we should be asleep, because we're getting revenge for the fact that we've never had time to rest. Think about it. Think about it. Millennials and elder Gen Z, like we've never really had time to relax. Like it's always the next tragedy. It's always the next thing. So I can definitely say my overall analysis is that if there is a covert narcissist in your life, the best way to handle them is to go no to little contact. That is the psychologist's job. They went to school for 10, 15 plus years. Let them handle it. But don't forget to subscribe, share. It's clear.